we're not going to be doing passing the peace because we have all the children. And so I am going to be finishing my sermon this morning, the sermon series on thanks and giving. Today is the final sermon. And this next slide, before I click on this next slide, I have to warn everybody that this next picture is going to trigger some of you guys. So take a deep breath, clutch your emotional support Bibles, and hold on tight. Because if you've ever been to Costco, you know that there's one area, just one, where it can turn a grown man like me into a puddle of stress, sweat, faster than Black Friday, at Walmart. And you know what I'm talking about when I show you this picture. Yeah, it's the sample cart. Yeah, it's the sample cart. I want to share with you one of the terrible life decisions I made this week. I went to Costco during Thanksgiving rush week, and let me tell you, that's a bad idea. Because number one, it's like Black Friday meets the Squid Games. It's terrible in there. And as if navigating those oversized carts is hard enough, it's such a nightmare. Let's talk about the lines that are being formed during the holidays at Costco. The sample lines. I'm not talking about the lines checking out. I'm talking about the sample lines. You know, the ones where people lose all sense of control and decency when free food is involved. You know what that's like, right? So I'm actually standing second in line, okay? And I'm patiently waiting for this new sample of some barbecue burnt ends. I never knew they would sample cooked steak at a Costco. So I'm sitting there, standing right in line. I'm second. There's 2 cups left. And this guy swoops in. This dude swoops in out of nowhere, takes both cups, right? And I'm just like, I waited for this, right? He takes it, and the little old lady that's handing out the samples, she says out loud, "You're welcome." And then this guy's just walking, and he doesn't even skip a beat. He stops, turns around, stares at the lady, and says, "I never said thank you." Oh no, you know what's about to happen, right? Everybody with their collective breath is holding, and so their breath, and so it's so amazing. This lady in front of me, this little old frail lady in front of me who was waiting before me, she's like, "You can't talk to Costco workers like that." And she gets so mad, and I'm standing there thinking, "Lord, please give me help today. Please give me help. Give me the strength," right? Do I leave this line to avoid the chaos and go the next aisle where they're serving Noosa yogurt where nobody is touching? Do I go to that line? Or do I stay and wait for these barbecue burnt ends that I've been waiting for the last 5 minutes? But you know what? Again, my life choices have been pretty terrible this week. And no, I'm committed now. I'm way in too deep. I can't leave this line. I'm the second in line, right? So I wait. And as the next batch is cooking, right, she turns on that air fryer, whatever, my pastoral instincts kick in. And here's mistake number 2. I asked the frazzled sample lady, because she's really pissed now, right? She's cutting up the thing, and she's really mad, trying to rip off the burnt ends and shoving it in the air fryer. And I'm like, that's my burnt ends. So my second worst decision was my pastoral instincts come out of me, and I really feel empathetic for her. So I asked her, I said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" That was a big mistake. Because as soon as those words left my mouth, I was locked into a 10-minute TED Talk about her whole life Her whole entire life. She starts to tell me that her husband passed away 5 years ago and how she's working here just to pay her Medicaid bills. And then now she's telling me that her Thanksgiving is going to be ruined because of her deadbeat daughter's husband. My goodness, I was like, I made the biggest mistake. Is these burnt ends worth it? And at this point, I'm really invested, everyone. I'm really invested. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to see what God is doing here. And what I realized was he was teaching me a lesson in empathy. So I was like, okay, check. All right. So I listened to her whole story. And after patiently waiting for the 10 minutes for the burnt ends to finally come out, I genuinely, with as much empathy as I can muster up, I just wished her, I said, lady, I'm so sorry what you're going through. I wish you the very best. And I want to just say happy Thanksgiving. I hope your dinner is filled with love and joy in your family. And while I thought the next 4 words out of her mouth she was going to say, thank you for listening. That was disappointment number 3. She just says, make sure you buy the burnt ends on the end of the aisle. It's right there. Don't forget to take it. It's $19.99. It's on sale. I found it ironic how this same lady who made it a point to make sure the other guy who stole the 2 burnt ends, for her to say, why didn't you say thank you? I realized it was ironic that she, even herself, couldn't say thank you for me listening to her. But hey, this got me thinking, everyone. Isn't this what Thanksgiving is all about? We focus so much, many times, on what we are missing and what's wrong with life today, that we tend to forget the blessings. We tend to forget the blessings that are in front of us. And it's very difficult for many people to just be thankful. To just be thankful for what they have in front of them instead of looking at what they don't have. And so this morning, we're going to be going through Luke chapter 17, verse 11 through 19, because I want to point out that life has not changed that much from Jesus' time to where we are today. And in our fast-paced world, gratitude is really difficult to come by. Gratitude seems really rare. We live in a culture that often focuses on what is missing in our lives rather than looking at what we have received, the blessings we have received. But Jesus shows in today's story that gratitude is more than just good manners. Gratitude is life-changing. It's life-changing. And have you ever done a good deed for somebody else only to have them turn back on you and complain about it? You know those people where you do something really nice to them and you would think that a thank you would come back, but instead all they do is complain and complain and complain about something else. Well, today's text is going to help us solve this problem of when we are not thankful, we miss out on the joy and the blessings and the fullness of what God has for you and for me. And so without further ado, let's go into the text. And as we open up our Bibles to Luke chapter 17, and if you don't have your Bibles this morning, that's okay. You can look up on the screen that's in front of you. I'm going to read from verses 11 through 14 to set the stage of what's going on in this story this morning. Now, on Jesus' way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." When he saw them, he said, "Go, show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were cleansed. Here is the amazing part of this first 3 verses. It doesn't say that Jesus healed them right away. It doesn't say that. It says that Jesus told them to start walking. And as they were walking to the priest, it says in this last verse, verse 14, that as they were walking, they were healed. It was actually their faith and their action of going to the priest that made them heal. But another thing I want to point out in these 3 verses is just who are these people? These are lepers, meaning they have leprosy. It was a disease back in the day where it was considered fatal if you touched them, because they thought that this disease can actually be contracted when you touch them. And so think about it for a moment, everyone. You have a disease that is incurable. Incurable. There was no way to cure this. And you were not allowed to touch anyone. Think about it for a moment. How ostracized would you be? How marginalized would you feel? How lonely would your life and existence be when no one else can touch you? Not even your mother, not even your father. You never even experienced the touch of a person. And here Jesus is, walking on his way to Samaria, and these people, walking on his way to Jerusalem, and these people are shouting out, asking him for help, and Jesus approaches them. He's the first person in their world that has actually talked to them, conversed with them, and actually touched them, been with them. That to me is amazing, and that shows the amazing love of Jesus Christ. But as they're going along, they're being cleansed. Look at what it says, the next verse, and here's the twist. One of them, when he saw he was healed, came back and praising God in a loud voice, he threw himself at Jesus' feet, and he thanked him. And here is what I love about Luke, Dr. Luke. He's a doctor writing this gospel, so he's all about the minor details. The detail is this man was a Samaritan. Why is that important? Because back in Luke's time, all of the readers, they knew that the Samaritans, they didn't like them. They were the dirty people. They were the people who were unloved by God. They were the people who were the most outcast of society. And so only one man comes back, and out of all of those people, out of 10 people, only one comes back, and it's a Samaritan. It's a person you never expected to say thank you. He was considered garbage, treated as garbage in his day and age. And yet he's the one who comes back to say thank you. Statistically, this makes sense to me, because to me, the majority of people are prone to complain about what is wrong rather than be thankful for what is right. You know those people who, no matter what, any good thing happens, they always find a way to complain about something. Oh, there's such a great, spread in the buffet line. And then someone just says, well, where's the ham? You know those people? Oh, wow, cranberry sauce. Why isn't it freshly made? Right? I don't see real cranberries in here, right? Oh, the stuffing. It tastes really good, right? Oh, this tastes like stovetop stuffing. This is cheap. Somebody didn't do their work, right? There's always somebody who complains. And I'm not trying to knock these people, the 9 others who didn't come back. You know what? As a matter of fact, I actually understand them. For all their life, they have been isolated. They have never been touched. They have never felt love from somebody. And finally, they get the miracle of their dreams, that as they're walking, they become healed. And now they can hug each other. They can high five each other. They can fist bump and chest bump and do all these things that they never could do before. I think thankfulness was just not in their minds at the moment. But this one guy, this one dirty, outcast Samaritan that nobody would ever think would be thankful, he's the one that comes and says, thank you. And there is power in this. There is power in our thanksgiving. And Jesus actually talks about this power in the next and last verses that I'm about to share with you this morning. Verses 17 through 19. Jesus asked this man, were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner? Even Jesus calls him foreigner. Then he said to him, rise and go. Your faith has made you well. The key point is that gratitude, when we are thankful, gratitude opens our heart to healing and a deeper relationship with God. Being grateful opens our heart to a deeper and healing relationship with God. See, the 9 were healed physically, yes. But the one who returned, what was he? He was healed spiritually. See, you can be healed of an infirmity. For example, some of us here have had major health scares in our lives. Some of us have had maybe doctors who said, hey, you have to watch what you eat. You have to watch your calories. Or you have to watch this little cyst that's inside your body. And some of us have actually been healed from cancer. Some of us have been healed from diabetes. Some of us have been healed from a numerous amount of things. But then if our hearts are constantly complaining and saying, oh, I'm missing this, I'm missing that, I still don't have this, I still don't have that, then guess what? Spiritually speaking, you're not healed. You're still in your own self, playing pity parties and saying things like, oh, God's not going to do that. And you're always finding something to complain about. And so I love the Proverbs, and I want to leave you with this last line. It's in Proverbs chapter 27, verse 19. It says, as water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart. Back then, when the Proverbs were being written, there were no mirrors like on everyday doors like we do today. And so what did they look at to see the reflection of their face? They looked at water. So just as a guy who looks over the pond to see what their face looks like, what this proverb is saying is that just as water reveals your face, the way you live your life reflects your heart. And there are some people, I would say the majority of people in Denver, and any city, major city that you go to, I would say that the majority of people, their heart is filled with sadness, deep despair, complaining, agitated. Just look at our society today. Just take a look at social media and all the people who are ready to jump at a moment's notice to be angry and take 2 burnt ends without saying thank you. Just look at the Costco parking lot, at all the people who are honking their horns. And instead of being grateful that these people are paying $160 for a yearly membership, but that at least they should be grateful that they're not at Walmart, right? Trying to find the parking space. It's even worse at Walmart. And so, through this parable, we can see that the world represents the majority. And the majority is those who live their lives so consumed with busyness and so consumed of what's wrong in the world that they have forgotten how to be grateful. They forgot to be decent, and to just say thanks. But this morning, I want to encourage all of us that we, as people of God, we are being called as a people to give thanks for even the little things. And these are the people, the minority in this world, who choose gratitude. No matter what their circumstances, no matter what circumstances they may be facing, they find something to be grateful for. So my encouragement this morning is, can we find, as a group of people, to be thankful for something? Anything. And this morning, again, my heart is so filled with thanksgiving to each and every person in this church. Every person who brought a food, every person who decorated these tables, every person who strived and practiced this morning for praise. All of these things I am so grateful for. And when we carry thankful hearts, we reflect God's goodness to the world. Imagine us as a church, if we could be the most thankful church, the most thankful group in the city of Denver. I truly believe we can change this world, at least our group here within us. And so with that being said, I want to leave you one final pro tip. The next time you go to Costco this week, especially for Thanksgiving, I want to give you these 3 things to think about, okay? Number 1, seriously think about whether or not taking the sample is worth your time and energy. I'm serious. Please. The Vienna sausages are not worth it. And that burnt end was not worth it. It was dry. It was terrible. I make 10 times better burnt ends, and so does Tracy. Where's Tracy over here? He's a good cook like me. It's not worth it, okay? Any Costco product is not worth it. And number 2, please do not cut in the sample line. Please do not be that person. And finally, and always, always, always remember to thank the sample lady. And what? And don't ask her how her life's doing. Let's go to the Lord in prayer.